And there are people in our membership today who years ago, when they retired, they were getting like $1,200 a month, which was a lot of money back then. But some of them getting now the same 12, or some people are existing on under $1,000 a month.
Welcome to Just a Conversation, the podcast where we discuss the topics that matter to you. I'm Shayla Merle here with
Fabian Belgrave.
And today we dive into Barbados' demographic revolution. Longer lives and fewer births. How will this affect our jobs, pensions, healthcare, and social fabric? We've convened an expert panel, Professor Dwayne Devonish, Chief Labour Officer Wayne Sobers, and BART President Marilyn Rice-Bowen to break down the challenges and explore solutions. Let's get into it.
Let's go, Mr. Sobers. From where you sit as the Chief Labour Officer, how does this aging society impact us from where you sit?
Well, in a number of ways, really, and it is compounded when we see that more and more persons are seeking to retire earlier, and so especially for businesses and the public sector as well, we have a situation where you're losing skills at a fairly rapid rate, and I think if you check most older workers, they will tell you, oh, my company is not as it used to be. That service standards have declined, that the technical responses and so on are not as efficient or effective as they were in the past. So that is one of the challenges that we see, and certainly that businesses experience as well.
So working to the age of 68 is that realistic then, would you say? Maybe in some areas?
It is definitely possible, but it depends on so many other things. If I may back up a little, I've had to field the question on many occasions about taking early retirement, and my suggestion always is to work as long as you can. For a number of reasons, we know all of us know about price increases, and the fact that the life expectancy has also increased. So if you're retiring early but you're living longer, you still have to support yourself on a pension for a longer period. And we all know that pensions do not increase at the same rate as salaries do. Mm-hmm. So it is now for employers and for workers to find appropriate strategies to make it work, because I think our organizations can benefit if we have skills available within the business for a longer period, and also to shape the next generation. So it's time we start looking at things like flexible retirement policies. In many instances, you're either in or you're out. So people are retiring fully at 62, as early as 60 in the public service, where it may be useful, where persons can go on a semi-retirement. And a couple of things happen. They have more time to help to pass on knowledge to the younger persons. So they also sometimes help the younger people to get accustomed to their senior colleagues not being around, and for them to take more responsibility and so on. So there's more that we can do, but it certainly does require more of an approach that's similar to what we experience at a national social partnership level. Mm-hmm. But it's to see that type of dialogue now occurring at the enterprise level, and thereby us fully reaping the benefits of all the skills and the abilities that we have within the workplace.
I agree with you. Madam, looking so beautiful. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. And I'm happy to be here in this good company and enjoying a conversation that we at BART always engage in. Simply because when you you just mentioned retirement and not enjoying all these things, but there's lots of people who do. There are few who don't.
Tell
but
us
there are
about it. Tell
more
us
of them
the good
who do.
stuff.
And one of the things I want to put here, the deposit here, though, Mrs. Sobers, is I think we have to start looking at production as opposed to hours of work. Because what we have a fixation here in this country where you say you work 35, 40 hours or whatever. But there are people who work 40 hours and they just do 3 hours of work. So if you said to, you're putting people on a plan, let's say you say, look, we do 10 to 3. Because most retirees don't want to work a whole day again. But you could get good time, say like a 10 to 3. And they could still go and pick up the grandchildren and all that. But we have to use a different tool of measurement and look at production.
About deliverables.
Yes. So if we start to look at it different, you'll find we get different results. You might get more. You will certainly get more out of those persons, even some of the young people. But you have also to look at flexible hours. And if you're looking at congestion on the road, there are a lot of social issues. You're looking at congestion on the road. If I'm in a job and I have to go to work at 10, I'm not going to leave home at 8. So, you could get less traffic on the road. And then, Mr. Sobers, then you also have to push for working from home, remote work. But you see, again, there are certain trust issues because persons feel if you're not there in front of them, you're not going to work. So it's a whole change of a mindset, really. But I want to deposit here. Let's look at remote work and let's look at production. Let's look at what you do. Let's measure the output. As opposed to saying, I want you to give me 40 hours. I want you to give me, because I can give you 30 hours. Very easy. That's not a problem.
True.
But I will not, chances are you will not get 30 hours of quality work. So if you want quality, you have to, go back to the table and let's reshape. Let's reshape the workplace.
Doc, jump in. I see you ready. Jump right in.
I strongly agree with Mrs. Rice-Bowen with Marilyn on the whole call for opening, I call atypical contracts. Many older workers are not inclined to return to that 9 to 5 window. I have been speaking to a colleague of mine, he's 84, and he just got a consultancy. But the unfortunate thing is that the consultancy makes a requirement that he has to be in the office from 9 to 5. And he says,
not practical.
Dwayne, I am not going back to anyone's office to work from 9 to 5. So there's been this shift, not just globally, but here locally, of appetites among older workers towards what we consider to be atypical or short-term or even part-time working contracts. Remote work is also another area, what we call an atypical type of employment that older workers may have a greater appetite for. So when we talk about this, re-engaging older workers back into the labor market, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're pushing for older workers to go back into a particular environment that resembled a pre-retirement phase. We're talking about a different way of working. And I like the next idea that Marilyn noted about a results or deliverables type work agenda relative to a time-based one, because we focus so much on present visibility, number of hours, and we measure those things as employers. But what really matters? What matters is production and results. And not just for older workers. I think this is something that can be pretty much pushed for younger workers too, because there are a lot of younger workers that would want that flexibility as well. So I'm a big exponent when it comes to giving older workers those types of flexible work arrangements and so on. But I also want to make another recommendation when it comes to re-engaging older workers into what I consider to be an active labor scenario. We have YES, Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme. Why can't we have something that is tailored to older workers or persons who operate in their retirement time, so over the age of 65? Why can't we have an entrepreneurship scheme which can re-engage reskill or upskill
Loving it.
these
Loving it.
retirees and bring them into the entrepreneurial market as well, because they're also contributing in that particular space. So those are some, I think, some food for thought.
Man, that's awesome.
No, definitely.
I-
A discussion to be had.
And maybe added to what you mentioned, we spoke about mindset and so on. We're talking about older workers and working to 68 and all that. And it depends so much on the workers and the attitude that we have toward work. So I was told recently, actually, that there's medical research now encouraging persons to work longer and certainly to maintain cognitive function and so on for as long as possible, because this thing about retiring and doing nothing, they say, is linked to the onset of early dementia. And so one of the things that persons ought to be also considering is, how can I turn what was just a passion or interest into some kind of economic activity, a good or service? How can I, in my retirement, in my older years, master the playing of an instrument? And we know that if you can master an instrument, you will play it more and more. And certainly with the projected development of the arts and so on, you can imagine that you can still find joy and work in playing an instrument. Only recently, I saw a group of old musicians playing in a concert at a church. One of whom was Boo Rudder, who we know is not exactly a young man, but he really was the star of the show even at that age. So things like that, playing instruments, turning hobbies or passions into some reproduction of a good and service. All these are things that we can consider and we can encourage our older persons so that they may be active economic agents still well beyond the 65 that used to be the standard.
Of course, because I come to realize that sometimes people think that when you get a certain age that you should just go and just relax and lay down somewhere. But older people are getting younger. They are social butterflies. Like my friend here, they are dressing up. They are going out. Sometimes you see Granny in the same fact with her granddaughter. Let's be realistic. Okay, they are out there having fun, and they have so much to offer. So I think that what you suggested would be a brilliant idea. So that they can still continue to offer more in their golden years. Now, you have a lot of knowledge in finances, right? And as we work less or as we move towards retirement, the income may not be coming in, or we may have to find more sources of income, as was suggested. How do you think we can better manage our finances as we get older?
All right. To answer that, you have to start to plan when you're young. And people questioned the reason why we lowered the entry age of bar from 50 to 40. And some were saying, I said, nobody retired at 50, 30 years ago. But that was a way of preparing. And the 40-year-olds, you have to prepare. When I was in the field, you prepare persons for retirement from their first paycheck. And you have to keep monitoring it. Now, what I've found since I've gone to BARP, and I'm at BARP as a volunteer, but it keeps my cognitive skills sharp. So for me, it's activity. But what I'll share with you is that too many of our persons who are in the workforce only focus on their retirement close to when they're retiring. I'm speaking about 2, 3 months, 6 months, and then it's too late, because you ought to focus on your retirement, say every 3 to 5 years. Check with your HR department, see how your plans are going. Most plans will allow for additional voluntary contributions. And we always encourage people, when you're working, pump that money into your pension plan, because when, people feel there's a myth that when you retire, you don't need money, but you need more money when you retire than when you're working. Because you're paying the same utilities, you're shopping in the same supermarket. We don't have supermarkets or a discount for seniors with gas, So it's important that the key word for retirement planning is to plan early. And not only plan early, but review. So review your retirement plan every 5 years. If you don't have a retirement plan as I speak, you need to put one in place. And when you don't have time, you have to have money. So if you didn't start a retirement plan at 40, but you want to start one at 50, you have to have the money to put in to make it work when you reach 65. And so the sad part, as I said, of the commentary is seeing people planning too late for retirement. And then when I find, I know there isn't much you can do, but you probably could drive something. Every company in Barbados, every company in this country should offer a retirement plan to the staff. Every company. You have people who work 20 and 30 years for the same company. And you know what they get at the end? A rocking chair, probably $500. I'm serious. It's painful. A rocking chair and $500 or $500 on a clock. And they've given 20, sometimes 30 years to the same company. I don't know. I mean, Bart would have to probably start the advocacy around this, Dwayne, to make sure that employers take better care of their staff.
Well, on that point, I mean, where does NIS come in this conversation?
A far second.
A far second?
Far second. You can't depend on NIS. You can't. NIS is in addition to. You can't sit and wait on NIS. So when you're looking at your financial picture, you look at your pension plan with your company, if you have a personal one, and then you put in NIS as also ran. But don't sit and depend on NIS, or don't just say, I have a pension plan at my company and NIS will make the difference. Don't do that. You will you'll find yourself falling way, way, way below. Sometimes the poverty line. As a matter of fact, I know we have people in our membership. We are over 22,000 strong. And there are people in our membership today who years ago, when they retired, they were getting like $1,200 a month, which was a lot of money back then. But some of them getting now the same 12, or some people are existing on under $1,000 a month. And that's because some of them depended only on NIS.
Yeah.
So what as president of BART, what initiatives, what programs are you and your organization putting forth for your membership?
Okay, we focus a lot on our 40s to 59s, but more so on our 40-year-olds, and encourage them. We have we held a seminar last year entitled Towards 2050. Basically, what that conference was focusing on is life in 2050. And so we had some financial planning in there. We had the estate planning. We had even on building your homes, because 40-year-olds building homes now, 40, 45, you're building your first home. If you're going to build your first home, you should have a walk-in shower. You decide you're not going to have a walk-in shower, you're going to build one with a little step up here. And at age 67, 68, something happens, because things do happen. And you can't even get over there. So you have to plan. We are a lot encouraging our members to plan ahead. Because don't forget, the 40-year-old now will be 65 in 2050. So we are working. And what you also find is that the same 40-year-olds, a lot of them are the decision makers now. So what I say to them, you're actually planning for your own retirement, But we have seminars. We conduct a lot of seminars via Zoom because our 40-year-olds are at work. But we have financial planning sessions via Zoom, and they're hosted by our different financial institutions that are all partners with BARP, and to start to deepening the conversation around retirement planning, because it's to put our 40-year-olds in that retirement planning mode. We know they want to buy a car, certainly buy that car. You want to go on a trip, buy the trip, but make sure that you put some money there towards your retirement. It's to once you start to allocate the funds, it will become automatic. But if you say you're going to put it next month and the next month and the next month and you don't do it, you will get to 65 and you would not have saved enough to live comfortable, because it's about living comfortable when you retire.
I agree. I agree. I actually I was going to make an interjection, but I kind of reconsider. I want to commend BART for the extensive and tremendous work that they've been doing when it comes to financial literacy. I've been making a call for many years for employers, so at the enterprise level, Wayne, for employers to engage in financial literacy workshops for all staff categories, younger, older workers, so that they are aware of what they need to do to prepare for their retirement. Because we've seen too many older workers going into retirement with unpaid mortgages, unpaid loans. They have health issues that they develop after retirement, but they don't have the nest egg. They don't have the savings. So I think financial literacy workshops and training is absolutely vital, and it should not be left only in the hands of civil society. I think employers, the private sector, government sector, the employer sectors need to do more to institute these programs for all workers across the board. In fact, I would call for a national financial literacy agenda or program or campaign, whatever you call it, for all Barbadians to consume, so that financial education is top of mind. I think it's absolutely critical.
Yeah,
Support
I
that.
support that. And
Thank
actually, I think one of the very first things that Marilyn said was about changing mindsets.
Yes.
And we certainly need to have a national dialogue in that area. From the beginning, we have, I think, to me, inappropriate views of work. We seem to think work is a bad thing, hard work is a bad thing. And oftentimes what we see now is that many of our younger persons seem to be more concerned with getting money for consumer items rather than for saving. The central bank has been doing quite a bit of work trying to get persons to invest and save, understanding what that means for national development. The Ministry of Business has a financial literacy unit, and they've been doing some work with young persons as well. But it needs to go beyond that, because we all know that the home is the most important teaching environment. And so we have to widen that discussion so that persons understand from the very beginning what is required in terms of saving, in terms of preparation. Those who are of mid-age need to be able to revise the practices that they developed so that they can, at the very least, have a reasonable opportunity to prepare for the pending retirement. But it does need, in my view, more of a dialogue as to how we are going to change a lot of the attitudes that we have, primarily toward consumer purchases and so on.
Yeah.
It's true.
So it's estimated that by 2030, I think by 2030, I think it is 1 every 4 Barbadians will be over 60. I think that's the estimation. I will have to check it again. But we are considered an aging population, so which means aged population.
Yeah. I think we're the 35th ranked in aging.
Yeah.
There we go. We are living longer. We are sticking around for a longer time, which means that we will be sharing the same space as younger people. Based on your research and also any anecdotal experiences you've been having, how are we getting along?
Well, let me just say that I was happy to work alongside Dr. Lawrence Nurse on the National Policy for Aging. We actually we actually designed the policy in 2023 as a 2023 to 2028 policy. So it was obviously under the Ministry of People Empowerment Elder Affairs. We were the consultants. And from that policy, or driving that policy, we had done some research that actually has shown that we are aging, yes, but I think the more problematic area that we have to contend with is that we're not just aging rapidly, but we're aging quite unhealthily. And we can see that with the NCD burden.
Definitely a concern.
That continues to really affect us as a country. So for me, I believe in wellness, health and wellness. And I think, again, going back to the enterprise level, I think employers have a major role in promoting workplace wellness in all their workers. So if we're talking about re-engaging older workers back into the workforce, even if it's under the same traditional agenda, the 9 to 5, we have to consider how are we going to promote wellness initiatives. How can employers partner, for example, with insurance companies and other wellness practitioners to ensure things like health screening, to ensure things like mental health support are in place, yes, for all workers, but particularly for your most vulnerable category of workers. So those are the types of conversations that we need to have.
Yeah. So what we have done at BART, we have partnered with Ross University, and every month we have free medical checkups for BART members. As I said, free. And they're always oversubscribed. And we in a month we have maybe 10 or 12 sessions, and they're oversubscribed. And I feel a lot better now because we realize that we're meeting that need. But in addition to that, we want to see more preventative care and want insurance companies to add the preventative care onto their policies for its members, so you can get a preventative care medical annually. And you get your bloods, the ECG and everything done. And so we are concerned about wellness because it's all right to live long, but you want to live healthy. And if not, we're going to be a drain on the society. And you don't have, you already have the declining birth rate. So who will look after who? So healthy aging is strong. We look at different financial health. We look at mental, physical. We look at all aspects of health. And we also have one of our partners, they would donate body scans. We get 10 body scans a year. We also partner with the Diabetes Association of Barbados. So all BART members get discount there. And then we have eye clinics and foot care. You just name it. We do it at BART because we recognize that our society must be healthy. It's good to live long, but it's important that you be healthy as you live long.
That's awesome. Let me introduce another side of this. All right. So the pyramid now is upside down. Or people are living longer.
Let's use the word seniors. I like the word
seniors.
Yeah.
I like my old people.
I like seniors.
Me too.
I am a senior. I'm not an old person. I'm a senior.
So what are you saying?
I like seniors. That's
Very
more
well.
empowering. You
More
know?
empowering.
Yeah.
Granny, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
I'm sorry, Granny.
Call me a senior. I like the vibe.
Do you like the vibe? All
Call me
right.
a senior.
So my question is, the pyramid is upside down. People are living longer. But then at the bottom of that pyramid, we have the young children who are saying, man, like these old people ain't want to retire. They're standing in the job. They're being left in the room for me to advance. And then that creates another problem, which is the brain drain. Because they're saying, hey, I out of here, man. These old people ain't retiring. I gone. What do we say where that is concerned now?
I'm going to let Dwayne probably kick up on that. But before he does, I would want to say, I don't think the brain drain is because of the seniors not retiring. It's about opportunities. Because our young people, they're going overseas and they're being trained. But when they come back, we don't have the jobs to put them in. So that is the major issue that we have. Even although some places people might not be retiring as quick as they should. If you understand and respect and value the senior, their mindset again would be different. But Dwayne, the question is to you.
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. From our research, when we actually formulated the National Aging Policy for Barbados, that was the main concern. We had a situation where older people... seniors felt very they were adversely affected by the sentiments of younger people. And interestingly, I also did the National Youth Policy just a year before that, and young people were saying the same thing that you were saying, and I kind of pinned it down to the fact that there's this generational divide. Correct. And we've seen it in terms of crime and violence in societies or communities where you see a lot of crime and violence. It typically stems from this kind of division between the more mature residents in the community and the younger ones. And you're going to see that you're seeing that playing out in the workplaces where there are a lot of younger people who are saying, man, we want, it's our time now, your time. And again, this is all a mindset. Wayne spoke about the mindset changes that we need to really occasion. So like Marilyn, I agree that we need to do more to build what I call intergenerational bridges between the younger and the older person, or the senior person.
You get
And one of the ways we can do it, I agree, is through mentorship. And there's such a thing called reverse mentorship. Reverse mentorship is where you have seniors who are mentees to younger but more experienced in the science in a particular technical area, and then you reverse it again. You go back to the traditional mentorship, so you can have an interplay of those types of initiatives in the workplace. And they need not start in the workplace. As I said, this is something that is quite pervasive in communities. So I would like to even say at the community level, where younger and old and more senior residents are able to kind of build bridges together by creating programs that pretty much push them to work together, to cooperate. And I think if we could do that in the workplace,
that sounds good.
I'm here for it.
Especially with the use of technology.
Yeah, technology.
Yes.
The youngsters certainly can help.
The digital
older
transfer
persons.
skills. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're tops on that. They are really tops on that. And the thing about it with segueing into the digital technology, with the seniors, there's usually a fear. You know, if I press this here, I would erase everything. But again, going back to BARP, I could only talk about BARP, right? But we have at BARP, again, we recognize that the world is going in this digital spaces. So we need to bring our members along. So last year, we opened the first and only to date members business center at BARP. We have 6 computers, 1 braille keyboard. So what happens is, if you have your taxes to complete, you want to fill out a visa application, your passport form, you're a BARP member, you come to BARP and we have somebody in there who will assist you. But in addition to that, we have training like SurePay. They will come in, different banks come in and give demonstrations on digital banking. And digital banking has not been embraced by the seniors population as one would think, but they will get there. But what they are quite comfortable with so far is the ability to pay bills online. And the land tax department, they did some sessions with us, and Brad did some sessions with us on income taxes as well. So at BARP, we are taking our members along because we recognize that the pace, now other people might have sessions such as these, but the challenge is pace. Because if you go into a classroom and you have some 30s and some 40s, and you're there like a 71 trying to get in, you don't get muddled. But when you are in a space that everybody in the same kind of age group and thing, so somebody will say, wait, hold on for me, I ain't get there yet. What you said to press, and you wouldn't get anybody sucking the teeth or anything. In addition to that, what we are planning to do is to bring an ATM machine to the office, not with money, but to again let our BARP members get the feel of an ATM. You all will remember during COVID that the credit unions and the banks, they were forced to reopen because the seniors were not using the ATMs. So we want to bring the seniors into that ATM realm, and we're going to offer them the opportunity to navigate the ATM on their own. But what most of them say is that they're not accustomed to people talking back to them. And you know, somebody's with the ATM, before you could press, they tell you, tell something and try again or this. So it gets them a little nervous. So we are holding. It's accurate to say that we are actually holding our seniors' hands in the area of digital technology.
That's awesome.
If I may ask a question before you go off, though, is what we refer to as a brain drain, is it really such an issue? Because we've always exported persons. We've always exported nurses and teachers. And if you look at international migration patterns, it's just we're just part of the cycle. We're just part of the world, and we're going to be affected by it. People are going to go to other areas of the world, and persons come here. So I'm not necessarily as concerned. I think what we do have to do, though, is to manage properly, and to maybe plan better. Our development planning probably ought to be a little bit more focused, so that we know years ahead of time what skills are going to be needed and so on. That is something that the ministry is seeking to address. We're looking at technology and so on, to look at workforce planning and those types of things. So hopefully we as a country can get better at that. But I think there's absolutely no harm in our people seeing the world as their stage. And if they are good enough to match strides with the rest of the world, why not?
Yeah. Sorry, I want to interject because I remember only in 2016, I was at a statutory organization. More than 60% of the staff was over the age of 60. So within 5 years, you have a massive exodus. And they were not ready because the succession planning initiatives were not in place.
Never.
And this is chronic, and it is not just in the statutory, in the government sector, but in the private sector. You have a lot of roles that are going to be vacant very soon, but there's no agenda in place for succession planning to allow less experienced and younger workers to enter those roles proficiently. And my grandmother always made the joke about, what the origin of a square peg in a round hole. She says it's not necessarily that something was wrong with the square peg. The square peg could have very well be operating proficiently in a square hole, but because it is now catapulted into a hole that it wasn't prepared for. That's what we mean by poor succession. So you have a younger person going into a role that they're not fully prepared for. They were very good as an employee, but now they're pushed into a leadership role and they didn't have the refinement, that's as we say, that rounded approach. They end up being a square peg in a round hole. And I said, but that's a great take, Grant.
It is. It's a grind.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, grannies, yeah, man.
Yes.
So, Rian, I know you are in the public sector and you have one of those positions, right? And in your office, there's Bex, there are all these little pop-ups in your organization that help a lot of young people, right? What would you say to young people who really need that mentorship and want to come under someone to just guide them, help them along the way, tell them the latest stories that Doc's grandmother tells, to get them that insight? What would you say to those?
It's an interesting question, and before we even get there, though, the person has to want to learn, and I think we have to look carefully at the environment that we create, where persons want to learn, where persons know that they need to learn, where persons understand their role in national development and their obligation to themselves and their families to be the very best that they can. Once you recognize that you don't know, then it is easy to go and search for information, to go and search for skills, search for somebody to teach you. But if you think that you know everything, well, then how can you learn something? And this is a lot of the problem that we have. I had a very interesting experience with some school children during the last week, and it's very difficult. They reject any type of instructions, suggestions, sometimes that make sense. So but that's a general problem again that we need to address. In our workplace, we make it a point for officers to gather together to have the benefit of a senior officer. For me, I prioritize those opportunities. Run an effective open door policy. I don't mean one where you say the door is open, and then when people come, you say, I busy, come back. But an effective open door policy that allows people to get the information they want when they need it.
I'm equally optimistic, but I err on the side of caution that employers, I think we need to make, or probably speak a bit louder to employers to ensure, one, that they're doing what they must to protect their workers, both the younger and the senior workers. Two, we also have to encourage employers to promote workplace wellness initiatives and make sure that they're accessible for all staff. If we are really serious about this integration between younger and more senior workers in the workplace. And the last thing I would say is I think we need to start even before people go into the work or the work market or the job market, in the schools, in the communities. We need to be able to build those bridges that Marilyn and Wayne and I referred to as the intergenerational bridges between the younger and the more senior members of the community, because it starts there, you know. Because when it gets into the workplace, sometimes the horses have left the stables. So we have to be able to start much earlier in terms of our interventions to build those bridges between younger and older people, if we are to address those mindsets that my co-panelists refer to.
If this episode resonated with you, follow Just the Conversation on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at GIS Barbados. Share with a friend, employer, or policymaker. Let's build an age-inclusive society.